Well, good morning, evening, night, day. I don't know what time it is where you are, but whatever time it is, good, whatever that time it is. This is Cloudlebat. I'm the moderator, one of the moderators for the Edit My Raw subreddit. I run the weekly Raw challenge, and I thought it'd be fun today to just show my process and how I personally edit Raw files. So I got this file early, so I'm doing this beforehand so it's ready for next week. But this is the winner of one of the my Raw challenges, Jeremy Fisher. This is his photo. Let me read what he had to say about it. He said, "I took this photo of my hometown's market square, which has several tavern-like bars, such as these. The camera used was a Sony RX10. The sun was setting, so I dare you to make the sunset look nice." Okay, we can try to do that. But I just wanted to go through and show my process and how I edit these photos, or edit photos just in general. So let's get to it. I don't have that much time, so because it is October 29th and I have a Halloween party tonight and I have to get dressed for it because I am a weirdo. So I'm using Lightroom. You can use all this stuff in any other program. Most other programs have similar things. There's a few things that Lightroom has that some other programs don't, and some other programs are actually better than Lightroom for specific things. Like, for instance, Lightroom can't really do HDR without actually having multiple exposures, which is the good way of doing HDR, but a lot of things can fake it. And you can kind of fake doing HDR with a style, and I've done that many times by bringing the contrast all the way down and boosting the clarity like crazy, and now it looks HDR-esque, not super HDR, but it looks HDR-esque. But clarity is actually one of the things that Premiere Pro has, not Premiere, Lightroom has that other photo editing softwares don't have, I mean. And basically it just adds a pop without actually really changing the overall contrast of the image. It just separates each individual area more. It also has vibrancy, which vibrancy controls colors that aren't orange more than it does orange, and that's to allow for higher saturation levels without affecting skin, so people don't look like Donald Trump, essentially. That's all that vibrancy does, and saturation. But yeah, another cool thing that Lightroom has that I'm not sure other things have, I'm sure some of them do, but I've honestly only used Lightroom, so, is camera calibration, which is something that I play with a lot. And basically what this does is it attempts to change the value of each primary color, because I'm sure most of you know this, but in each of these little pixels, there's 3 different values. There's a red value, a green value, a blue value. And basically what this is doing is trying to change the value of blue, and change the value of green, change the value of red to a different actual color. Which is actually impossible, because obviously it's red, green, or blue, but it does it in a weird way that makes it look like it actually is. And you can do some really cool stylizations with this. Like, that looks awful, but you could do that. If you wanted something to be green and purple, you could go that way. If you wanted it to be the traditional orange and teal, you can go that way. If you wanted, I don't know exactly what colors those are, but it looks nice. So you can do some crazy things with just moving these, and that's one of the main things that I do. The first thing that I do whenever I get into it, so let's start editing. First thing I do is I go into lens corrections, remove chromatic aberrations, and then enable profile corrections. Don't know exactly which lens this is. He didn't say which lens, I don't believe. He just said it was a Sony RX10, which I actually, go away. I don't know what that is, so I'm gonna look it up real quick. Sony RX10. Digital compact camera. Is that a removable lens? You can't see what I'm seeing right now. That doesn't look like a removable lens. So it's like a kind of like a point and shoot camera, it looks like. So this is a 24 to 200 millimeter f2.8 lens. So let's see if we can find something similar to that. So let's find Sony. This is a Zeiss lens. The lens is Zeiss, so let's go Zeiss. Doesn't say exactly. Zeiss Vario sonar. This is gonna take. Oh, there is no Vario sonar. There's macroplanar, but it's not that. It's Vario sonar. Okay, so we're not gonna be able to find. There's C sonar, Apo sonar. Yeah, so we're just gonna ignore it for now. It doesn't look that bad. Oh wait. Oh yeah, that's because I did something. So we're gonna ignore it for now. It doesn't look that bad. It looks like there's a little bit of vignetting and distortion. I don't see anything drastic, but I'm pretty bad at seeing distortion anyway. So let's just pretend like I don't see any distortion, because I don't. That's the first thing I do, though. The second thing I do is I go into the basic settings and actually start. Actually, no. The next thing I do is always go to transform, hit auto, and see what it does, and see if I like it. Level. I think I don't like auto, but I like level. I like that. Yeah, I do. Okay, so we're gonna go with that. Now we go here. I always do this first, as I auto white balance, which reminds me I need to turn this off. Oh, it already was off. Whatever. And then after auto, I see if I actually like. Go away. See if I like. I think I want it to be colder because obviously it's winter, but having a little bit of warmth allows separation in the sky from this blue to this orange, which is something that Jeremy specifically said that he wanted to see if we could do. So we're going to try to do that. And then tint as well. I usually tend to go on the purple side rather than the green side because I hate the color green. We're going to do that. Okay, the next section is the exposure section. Let's try auto, see what it does. I like that. It's a bit too contrasted, so let's bring the contrast down, bring the clarity up. Bring the highlights down to create more depth in the sky. Bring the whites up. Bring the shadows up even more to make it nice and bright, but bring the blacks down to make it pop. You'll notice something. If you watch other videos that talk about how to edit, it'll say like, oh, the blacks look fine, you don't have to do anything with the blacks. I touch everything. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm always going to touch it and see exactly where I want it to be. And I would highly recommend you doing the same thing. Touch everything. Probably bring the contrast down even more, bring the clarity up more, bring the vibrancy up. Bring the vibrancy down, actually bring the saturation up. There we go, that's what I was looking for. Ooh, that looks good. Okay, actually want to bring the vibrancy down more. So the reason why I bring the vibrancy down and the saturation up is because I want this orange to pop out from the blue of everything else. Because if I did the opposite, I'll show you what the opposite will look like if I did that. You see how the orange doesn't pop, but the blue pops a lot. So that's basically, I'm trying to do the opposite of that. I want the orange to pop. Before we move on, let's crop it, because I don't like the crop that much. I am a huge fan of 16:9, because I am a filmmaker, more so than I'm a photographer. If you've ever seen any of the photos that I take for the Edit My Raw challenges, you'll know I'm not a photographer. But I've had a couple of good ones, but most of them have been pretty bad. I just like editing photos. I like that crop a lot. It looks nice. Next we go into tone curve. I'm just gonna do an S curve. I pretty much always do an S curve anyway. They just always make it look better. You can tend to overdo them though. So like I'm just going +4, -4. It's very, very minimal. You can barely tell that I did anything there. It just created a little bit more separation. Let's go into the camera calibration next before we go into the colors, because everything that you do here is going to affect what you do here. So let's go into here and see where we want it. So I'm going to try and get a lot of color in the sky here. So I'm going to bring this down to a point where there's a distinct separation between this color here, and this color here, and this color here. That's basically what I'm looking for, while still maintaining a good color everywhere else. we're going to go with that. That looks pretty good. I want more clarity in the sky, which is going to be difficult because it's not a set horizon, so we'll do that later. I'm also going to try to remove this whole section here and this, just because I don't like them. But we'll do that later. For now, we're going to move on. Actually, let's mess with the saturation levels a bit here. I don't know exactly what this does, but like I said, I play with everything. I move things around until I like it. I basically just go crazy, and then I don't look at where the slider is, and I just find out where I want it to be. And I do that all the time. And usually it just ends up being relatively similar to where it was. Okay, now we can go into the colors and start separating some colors. One thing I like to do a lot, and I've been doing a lot more recently, is getting rid of either blue or getting rid of aqua. Blue is more intense. That looks super black and white. That actually kind of looks cool, but that's one thing I could do is boost up the aqua a lot and take the blue all the way down to make it so it's not just straight up black and white, but making it kind of seem that way. Or I could do, I think I'm going to go with this. I'm still going to do the same thing here though. I'm going to mess with everything and try to find, so I'm going to try to make these, I don't want them to be the exact same color as this, but I want it to be closer to it. I don't want that much separation between those colors. So we're going to go with that. Orange. There's no green. We're going to make the aqua more blue. We're going to make the blue more aqua. There is purple, it's on the face of the thing, but I don't want it, so I'm going to take the saturation all the way down on that. I don't see any magenta. So just in case, we're going to bring the saturation all the way down on that. So let's go here, bring the saturation of the red down, but I'm going to bring the saturation of the orange up a little bit. I'm bringing the saturation of the yellow down because it seems like it's too much, and I'm going to be adding some, what is that called? Clarity into the sky a bit later. So I'm bringing the yellow down a little bit. There's no green, so I'm not going to, I'll get rid of it just in case there is any green that I don't want, because I hate green. I'm noticing that it's a little bit low, I mean high, so I'm going to bring it down. Luminance, this is another thing where, luminance is a hard thing because like if you see here, you can distinctly see where it's seeing red instead of other things, so you have to be careful not to go too crazy with it. But it's another area where I like to just mess around and just move things until it's where I like it to be. There's no green. See, I like the face to be much brighter, but you can distinctly see some stuff up in the sky that I don't really want to be able to see. So I'm going to find out where it no longer does that, which is right here. There's no magenta, so we're not going to touch it. Next section I go to, I usually do split toning last. I pretty much always split tone, but I always do it last. Next section we'll do is detail. I always zoom in with detail. Here's a nice little trick for you. If you hold Alt and drag, it will actually show you exactly what the mask is. I use this all the time. So we'll go there. Same thing with detail. It'll actually show you the physical detail that it's going to do. So we're going to go actually pretty low detail on this one. Sharpen it up. And that looks nice. Now let's do noise reduction. We'll look up in the sky. This is actually a really good photo from Jeremy. I mean, it's obviously nice and bright because it's snowy, so he probably had his ISO 160, yeah. F14. So this is a pretty decent one. Let's look at color. I usually bring it down just to see if there's anything. There's not, but I'm going to leave it there anyway. It's not really changing anything. Next we can go to split toning, so let's do that. And This is, I'm going to show you the very stereotypical split tone first. You take an orange. You take a teal or blue. Mix them together. And bring them down. That's like the most stereotypical split tone. You can put that on pretty much any photo and it's going to look better. And I think I'm going to put it on this one as well. And I'm actually going to do it kind of heavy. I usually do very, very light and subtle, but I'm doing it a little bit heavier this time. Yeah, I like that. I want the whole picture to be a bit darker, so I'm going to bring the exposure down, but the contrast up. I'm going to bring the highlights up a bit, and the whites up a bit, and the shadows up a bit. So this is before. I hit the backslash button to see before, before, after, before, after, before, after. So far I'm liking everything that I've done. So let's go. What else is there to do? I actually did that pretty quickly. Like I'd be pretty happy with posting this right now. But I'm going to show you some spot removal stuff first, because I just did say I want to remove all this up here as well as this. And you can, it's easier-ish to do it in Photoshop, but I'm going to show you how to do it in Lightroom instead. So let's change the brush size without having to go over here to change it. If you just hold the bracket button, it changes up, changes down. So let's do that. The issue here is that it's very long, and the way that Lightroom does this is it actually takes another area and uses that other area. So we can move that area. So you see that there's a bit of an area there that is not very pretty looking, but we can fix that in a bit. So now let's take this section here. Okay, so fix that. So let's do another one. And then let's get these two wires down here. We'll do one at a time. Why? What? That doesn't make sense. I can probably fix that with another layer though, so we'll ignore it for now. It doesn't make sense that it's doing that though. This is where Photoshop would be much more helpful. But we're going to do our best here. So we're going to make this super small. We're getting there. Yeah, okay. So this is not, we're probably going to have to go into Photoshop to fix this last portion. So let's back up until we find where we will like it. It's not really doing anything. There we go. Yeah, I can get rid of that in Photoshop. So we're going to leave it like that for now. So let's go up here and do this section now. And since we're already going to bring it into Photoshop, I'm just going to fix that in Photoshop later. Now let's adjustment brush. So we want to make this entire sky more clarified. I don't know what you would say for that, but we want more clarity. So we're going to do this. Basically, I have my default set to just increase the exposure like crazy so that I can see what I'm doing first. So I can see where my adjustment brush is actually going to be affecting. We're basically just trying not to get any of the houses, get as much of the sky as possible. Especially this area down here, this part's very important, so I'm actually going to end up zooming in to this portion. I'm just using a mouse for this. I'm going to show you something real quick. I'm going to go into here, and if you accidentally do that, if you hold Alt, it changes into a minus, and then you can erase. We can take that, that's fine. It's going to take a little while, but it'll be worth it in the end. We want the sky to pop. Jeremy wanted the sky to look cool, so we're going to make the sky look cool for Jeremy. Okay, let's get in over here a bit more. We're going to be removing this stuff anyway, so it's fine if we add a little bit more. That should be good enough. So let's reset the exposure and then boost the clarity. Boost the contrast. Don't want to boost the contrast too much. Can actually lower the shadows, boost the highlights. We just need to be careful of this area right here. So before, after, it just added a little bit, didn't add a lot. That's fine though. It looks better than it did before. So that's pretty successful. We just need to edit the areas that look kind of crappy because we didn't really finish with the spot editing. So I want to export this. Oh, sorry, I'm yawning. Export this, and then we're going to open up Photoshop. Photoshop is much better and easier to use for this, but open, let's go to raw edits. I have so many in here, I need to start organizing them. I have to find where it is in here. I don't see it. Does anybody else see it? You're probably seeing it. I'm pointing to it and being like, how are you so idiotic that you can't see it right now? Where is it? Okay, let's go back to Lightroom and look at the name of it. The name is... what's the name of it? DSC 5030. DSC 05 30. There we go. Let's open that up. So now we have this open in Photoshop. Let's zoom in. So into this area right here that we want to fix. Let's select it. So I'm going to use the polygonal lasso tool and just select just this area right here. Right click, click on fill, and then content aware. And look at that, gone in an instant. Like I said, Photoshop is really good at that type of stuff. Let's go over here and do the same thing. So polygonal tool, select here. Actually, almost like lower than that. Yeah, almost like there. So fill, content aware. That is not what I wanted at all. Does that look good? It actually kind of looks natural, but we're not going to do it. So let's go back in. Go farther away. It's going to take multiple steps to do it this way. Fill. It's still just trying to fill it. Why are you trying to do that? So we're going to have to individually do this now, which is annoying, but it will go by kind of quickly. Okay, so that's done. This area still looks kind of bad, so instead of using the content fill, we're going to use clone stamp, which I always forget where it is. There it is. So clone stamp. If you hit Alt, it allows you to select the, is it Alt? Is it Shift? Yeah, it's Alt selects the area that you're going to take from. So let's take this area over here and just draw over it. Try to make it look natural, which that doesn't look natural at all. So we're going to do Control Z. Let's try taking from over here instead. And that still doesn't look natural at all. So let's try to take this whole section, content aware. That should actually, yeah, it makes it look much more natural. So that's good now. And while we're here, we can do some cool stuff that Lightroom can't do. One of my favorite things to do in here is get gradient map, a black and white, and put it on luminosity. And it pretty much always makes it look better. I don't know why. I just like the look of it whenever we do that. It's probably too much, so we can bring it down a little bit. And then you can adjust the levels like this. So if you wanted it brighter, you could do that, or if you wanted it darker, do that, or if you wanted to do something like that. That looks pretty cool. You can also do split toning with Photoshop in a way. So let's do it. We're going to do purple. Instead of purple, we're going to do like teal and orange, and then go to color. And that's another way you can split tone. And doing it this way, you can kind of see exactly what color you want. Like that looks pretty cool. And then you can change, just like we changed the balance, you can change the balance. Oops, you change the balance by adjusting this right here. And that looks pretty good. And then you can bring it down to the level that you want it to be. So you could even do it with that. I'm not going to, but this is just showing you what you can do. So Photoshop's also a super helpful tool. This is another thing that I tend to do, is I will invert. This kind of separates high intensity from low intensity. So what I'm about to do, I put it on invert, and then I go to color, and then I bring it down to 40%. You see it got super desaturated. Now we're going to go back in, go to hue saturation, boost the saturation up. You see how it basically just separated things that were lowly saturated from things that were highly saturated. So we do Control-T. So before, after, before, after. I don't like it. It's just something that you can do for this image. It's just another thing that you can do with Photoshop. So yeah, this is going to be, actually, probably want a little less than that. Oh, there's something that I forgot to do in Lightroom. Well, crap. I mean, I can do it in here as well. So the other thing that I normally do is I go into Tone Curve, and then I'll see if offsetting the whites and blacks looks good. So we can do that real quick. I can show you how to do that. So if you go into Tone Curve, normally this is the screen that you're on. If you hit this little button right here, it gives you more fine, so you can add things exactly where you want it to be, and you can go pretty crazy with the way that it looks if you really wanted to. Like, yeah, you're never gonna do anything like that, but you could. So let's reset all of these. But one thing that you can do with this is you can put offsets. So the most stereotypical one is just taking this, bringing it up a little bit, and then bringing the top one down a little bit, and that makes it look kind of filmish. But what I like to do is I like to crush the blacks while doing it at the same time. So you could do something like, just to see what it's actually doing, it does that, it crushes blacks and brings them up. So I would do something sometimes like that. You can do the same thing with whites, although it wouldn't look very good with this image. But you can do the same thing with the whites. You see how it's crushing them. Makes it look more filmy. I don't know if I want to do it for this image, but we'll do it in Photoshop as well, just to show you what it will end up looking like. It's been a while since I've done it with Photoshop. Is it exposure? Yeah, exposure and then offset. Offset's the black, and that's all you can really do. You can do it with the... I should have tried to make this look like Red Dead Redemption since it just came out. Except the lights. So that doesn't look that bad, it's just... Oh, that looks good though. I actually really like that. Okay, so that's the final image, and I don't know how I would have done that in Lightroom, so I guess it was a good thing that I brought it into Photoshop, because I don't know how I would have gotten that exact, because I don't really know what gamma correction does. I don't use Photoshop that much anymore, so let's find where we wanted that to be. That, yeah, experience exposure. Yeah, I really like that. Okay, so we're done now. So we're gonna file, save as. I always save it. Oh, you can't upload PNGs. That's right. JPEG. I hate JPEG. So wait, can't you? PNG. Where do I save it as a PNG? I totally can save it as a PNG. I'm gonna try it real quick. PNG's lost this format, so I always save as PNG. A JPEG, even the highest quality JPEG, is still lossless. I mean, it's still not lossless. You still lose quality. So yeah, that's it. That's the end of the video. Hope you liked it. Hope you learned something. Hope you think that this edit is decent. And I will see you in the weekly contest thing, Majigger.